Occasionally, conversation around sports topics start becoming about things that aren't just about sports. And one of the things that's happening with this season is definitely the conversation around the MVP this year with the race between Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Nikola Jokic. And we're going to talk a little bit about that right after this.
Welcome to the number one place for your daily basketball news and analysis, NBA Central.
What's going on, basketball fans? Welcome to another episode of NBA Central, your number one spot for everything basketball related. I'm the host here, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at NBA Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and get into the content for today, y'all. This is going to be one of the more different conversations that we're having around MVP. And here's the thing, right? Not always, especially as a content creator, do you really focus on the comments around the topic. You more so focus on the topic, your takes, the facts, things like that, right? And that kind of takes and should take precedence over, just to be quite frank, some bullshit. And there's a lot of bullshit going on around this MVP race, right? And I want to be clear here, right? And this isn't about the players, right? I want to be clear here. Nikola Jokic is having one of the most historic seasons that we've seen in NBA history. I just want to be clear there. That's the type of season that Nikola Jokic is having this year. And when you look at the seasons that Jokic has had as already being MVP, and this may be his best season, right? And you can't take away from that at all with that. Like what he's doing right now has been not only amazing to watch as a basketball fan, it's been special for so long, right? We had a different version of this channel that is away now. One of the biggest videos that we ever had blow up is the fact that people don't really know how to appreciate Nikola Jokic's game, right? And that's happened for years, right? More casual NBA fans, not to say that everything should be about them, but more casual NBA fans really don't quite always understand how good Nikola Jokic is, right? The people who look and they want to see highlight reel blocks and dunks and things like that. When you look at Jokic's game and, the fact that he's very methodical about the way that he goes about the game of basketball, for some people, that game's just never going to translate for them. And I feel sorry for those people, right? When you look at the game of basketball and everything that goes into what it takes to be a good player at the NBA level, Nikola Jokic doing what he's doing at his size and not being the most physically dominant player, right? As far as from an athletic standpoint, physically, he's a goddamn specimen physically. You can't take that away from him, right? Well, I mean, when you look at his body, it's not like he's the most jacked player in the league, but this guy is just a special player. The way that Nikola Jokic goes about the game of basketball is tremendous, right? Because he impacts every level of the game of basketball for that Denver Nuggets team. And the story around Jokic has been so important. And for people that try to label Jokic as a boring player, I think that your view on basketball is boring. I'm going to be 100% honest with that, right? But that plays a part into the conversation I want to have here, right? Because there are some people that, because of the style of basketball that Jokic plays, he's just never going to resonate with them, right? Because they like that more athletic, more eye-popping, that type of thing. Whereas the people who love the game of basketball and can watch the intricacies, and even when the game slows down, they're just as engaged as if you're seeing this physically dominant game. Like, those type of things matter to some people, and they affect the enjoyment of the game of basketball. And I'm one to say this. Whatever you personally enjoy out of the game of basketball and your own personal enjoyment, that's fine. That's great. Everybody has the right to that in what they enjoy out of any entertainment, but especially sports, right? You can't take away from that. Nikola Jokic is averaging a triple-double, almost a 30-point triple-double. You cannot, that would be asinine to try to act like this guy isn't one of the most amazing players that the game of basketball has seen in the run and stretch that he's seen, right? And then you have a player that kind of in a lot of ways is the exact opposite stylistically from that. And Shai Gilgeous-Alexander not only is a defensive presence, he plays the exciting brand of basketball, even though some people criticize him for the foul drawing and things like that, even though that's still a skill. But I get what people are saying as far as you look at refs bailing him out, things like that. But Shai is just another player that, for the opposites, and just, again, as a basketball watcher, you can appreciate so much about the game of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, right? The fact that everything that team needs him to do, he always finds a way to adapt, right? This was a team that had no bigs at one point in time. Stein and Chet were out, and they still found a way to keep their pace up, leading the league in pace even without any traditional bigs on the team. And Shai has been just amazing to watch basketball for years. The rise of Shai from a player that was drafted and was on a young player, was on that Clippers team, right? And then to see the little bit of flashes that you got to see out of that. He played all 82 games that rookie season, the little bit of flashes you got to see from that. Then going to the OKC Thunder, going from a 10-point per game player to 19-point per game player. And then after that, he's been over a 20-point per game player every year from that. And he's refined his game and gotten better every way in the game of basketball since then, right? And people try to say things and some of the wrong criticisms they throw towards Shai. We've seen what he's done before. Not really, because you haven't seen Shai do it, right? Oh, he hasn't improved. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has improved every year in his effective field goal shooting percentage, in points per 100 possessions, in his defense, right? The way that he's guarded players, and players have shot in their career worst percent, well, not career worst, but shooting worse than their season averages against him. The refinement defensively, the leadership aspect. To say that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander hasn't grown as a player is another overstatement that some people are making to try to discredit Shai because they want to boost up another guy. Now, here's the thing. There are legitimate criticisms for every basketball player. There's not a such thing as a perfect player. Everybody's going to deserve criticism. Jokic deserves criticism. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander deserves criticism. But the thing that this MVP race has really turned into, right, is that it's starting to become about more than basketball. You have Jokic stans, and I say stans, not fans, because stans go to an extreme level when rather than rely on their own basketball knowledge and to talk about a person that they're a fan of, fans will say, hey, this is why I think this is what they do. They may have a little blind spot. Stans will be like, oh, you're stupid. And some of this dumb shit that we're seeing, like some, and I call them stans, not fans, saying that it's racism of the reason why people are considering Shai a MVP, that somebody who should win the MVP over Jokic. And here's what I'm here to tell you guys on that. You're fucking stupid. Like, there's just no way around that. If you are trying to claim racism because of the player that you want to be MVP, people having a difference of opinion, and all of a sudden it's racist to think that, you're stupid. You don't understand what the meaning, and this is why when people try to radicalize words to try to make a point, you end up making yourself look like an idiot. You end up making your point end up being hurt worse, all because you're trying to push propaganda in your opinion rather than be able to have an objective conversation. The same thing's happening for some people that support Shai. You have the stands on that side that try to belittle, oh, well, Jokic is this, Jokic isn't that, he's not doing, like, Jokic is one of the most dominant players in the game of basketball. The thing that's being taken away from this is the fact that we should be able to be having a reasonable conversation, right, about two players, a special season where there are two players that either one winning the MVP, there's a legitimate stack of reasons why, right? And then you look at those reasons. Like, I hate to tell you guys, but yes, the performance of a team has always mattered in it to a degree, right? Now, people like to point out and say, what about Embiid winning the title when his team was the third seed? Did the team winning matter then? Yes, they were still over a 50-win team. If Embiid had that same exact season on a 20-win team, you know what? He wouldn't even been in MVP conversation. So yes, the team's record does matter. That is why MVPs don't come from losing teams. But then you factor in the intricacies of that conversation, the way that the Thunder are beating teams, right? And you have people that say stupid shit like, oh, well, the Thunder would still be a dominant team without Shai. Where's that? They're 18 points per game better with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander on the floor. And while they do have one of the best point differentials in NBA history, guess what? It's not more than plus 18. So it's this conversation that's had, and I get it that it happens in things and it's radicalized and all this type of stuff, and people want to defend who they look at as their guy, but we should be able to have a multifaceted conversation about the game of basketball, because guess what? Both these guys are putting up special seasons, right? And you can, and I've always said this, if you have to knock another player to talk positively about yours, that actually hurts your stance and hurts your argument. You could be able to say, hey, yeah, Shai's doing this right, Shai's doing that right. But you know why I have Jokic better than that? Because Jokic is doing X, Y, Z better. Or Jokic is excelling at this. You have to have a conversation and try to make somebody seem like they're trash to have a point of a conversation. You're missing the actual conversation that needs to be had. No. Some people say stupid things like, oh, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander winning this would be like Steve Nash winning it. You're a fucking idiot, right? You're a dumbass. People will say, oh, well, Jokic shouldn't win it because he won 3 in a row. You're an idiot, right? Because it doesn't matter. It's about season to season, regardless of whatever. And I've said this before, voter fatigue happens, but it's a stupid thing that happens. Because at some point, it's about the season that's in front of you and what are you having then. These two players are putting together something that I think is so amazing, right? And both these guys are. And now that it's gotten to a point to where when somebody says something like, well, I got Shai as my MVP. Oh my God, how can you not have Jokic? You're stupid. You're a racist. Like, it's fucking stupid, right? Even going so far as, and again, like I said, as a creator, you don't like to get caught up too much in the weeds, but even in a video that Kev and C-Dub, I wasn't even on the episode, right? That they had a conversation about Jokic with their opinions on it, and people leaving comments like this. The black vote was in before the season started. Does that sound fucking stupid to you? Yes, that's a fucking stupid ass, right? Now, this is an actual fair comment. Somebody said, media bias says SGA, Jokic is the MVP, there's no debate. Reverse racism, voter fatigue. Now, that part gets stupid. That's a dumbass thing. People don't understand what racism is. They're fucking idiots. And if you have to try to use something that's such a serious topic to have a basketball conversation, you're dumb, right? Now, for people that have things and think that Jokic hasn't done enough to win MVP, that's an actual dumb conversation, right? That's just a baseline dumb to not be able to look at this at the game of basketball and think, what the hell? But if you hear anything that's not your opinion and you meet that with racism or you meet that with calling somebody a casual, listen, everybody has the right to their taste of basketball. But you know what the end-all, be-all, the objectifier is in basketball is how dominant you can be in that sport regardless of your style. We're seeing two players that are being extremely dominant with the style of basketball that they play. And like I said, this is such an interesting thing because it's two polarizing type styles in a lot of ways that is being a part of the conversation, right? Not to go to the head-to-head matchups, all these other things that have been a part of it. It's been great to see. It should be a fun conversation. And this is going to be one of the most fun MVP races to watch down the stretch of the season because get it, listen to this. I know that people don't understand this, but you live in a world where both things can be true. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander could win MVP, but Jokic could be the better player and vice versa, right? Again, that's a conversation that's more multifaceted that needs to go, and I wouldn't have that with just me. That's more of a debate thing that I would love to hear, like a round table done on with people from all different sides of the conversation. But some of y'all are so caught up in your own stupidity. And again, this isn't just to Jokic fans. This isn't just to SGA fans. This is to everybody who sits there rationalizing radicalizing a conversation rather than being able to have a legitimate basketball conversation. You know, it's so crazy. You're seeing two legitimate stars have special seasons in their own right, for their own reasons, for the historic reasons, whatever you say. And this should be one of the MVP debates that is the most special and multi-layered because of all the things that can go into it with basketball. But people make it about so much things, about things other than basketball, that you end up looking like fools. And that's what I don't want to happen. And it sucks that has to happen, right? And, you know, honestly, in a large part, I'm stupid myself for making this a whole episode to talk about idiots, but I feel like it has to be said. Somebody has to say it. This MVP conversation, because of the people, not because of the actual conversation and the players, but because of the people and the way they're radicalizing this conversation, is just getting weird. And it doesn't have to be weird because there's more than enough analytics, there's more than enough statistics, there's more than enough advanced stats, there's more than enough everything, more than enough games, there's more than enough things that you can go into to have an actual basketball conversation than to be sitting there talking about radicalized bullshit. And let's hope that at some point that can stop, but then that's having faith in humanity. And one thing that I've learned is that having faith in humanity ends up always blowing up in people's faces. You know, we'll see where it goes. That's my thought process. You guys can let me know how you feel on everything down below. A little bit of a different episode. Don't know how much I'm going to do things like this, but it is what it is. Make sure you guys are following us at NBA Central Pod. You send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, NBA Central Show at gmail.com. And then lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, number to do so, 773-270-2799. We're the number one spot for everything basketball related. And I'll see you guys the next time I feel like making a video. Probably tomorrow. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Breaks Media.